Good morning, students. Today's topic is evolution of management, which comes in Unit 1. Okay, so this is the syllabus for first unit. So we are dealing with introduction to management and organizations. In the previous classes, we dealt with the different definitions of management. Management as a science, management as an art, followed by the differences between the manager and the entrepreneur, in types of managers, where we saw about the managerial roles and the skills. We saw about the interpersonal skills also, which are demanded for a person to become the manager. So today's topic is evolution of management. So we are going to deal with the evolution of management and the different theories that made this management got evolved. Okay. So before getting on to today's topic, we shall again have a recap on the management and management as a science or art, because that was the external learning topic that I gave you yesterday. So let's have a recap on that. When we talk about management is what actually the managers do in an organization. It is nothing more than that. When we want to describe it more specifically, we can call management as a task or coordinating and supervising the people to do the works more efficiently and effectively, and that is what is given the slide as well. So it is about coordinating and overseeing or supervising the activities of employees in an organization so that the works are done effectively and efficiently. Okay. And so who is a manager? Manager is a person who does this work. So that is what is manager. We already saw about the different levels of managers, like first line managers, and the middle level managers and the top managers. And based on the work or task allocated to them, we categorize the managers in all these categories. Okay. So when we talk about management again, we concern with only two topics, which is efficiency and effectiveness. When we talk about efficiency refers to getting the most output from the least amount of inputs given to the manager, or with the least amount of inputs we are trying to get the most output, trying to get most out of it, exploit the resources to the maximum. That is what is doing things more effectively and efficient way. Okay, so here the manager's responsibility is to deal with all these efficiency and effectiveness. So given a scarce amount of input, including resources like people, money, or equipments, the manager's responsibility is to deal with the efficient use of all these resources. That is why we say doing things right as efficiency. So getting the most output from the least amount of inputs given to him or her. That is what is the first concern in a management. The second one is effectiveness. So effectiveness is all about dealing with the attainment of organizational goals. Okay, so there will be a long-term goal for the organization. So that has to be achieved when we deal with any kind of a product development or a software development. So doing the right things will be called as effectiveness. So these are the two concerns when we deal with the management, and of course the managers are responsible for this. Okay, so management is also concerned with effectiveness, which means completing the works in order to attain the organizational goals. Okay. So yesterday's this external learning topic was this only, management as an art or science. So we'll have to justify on this. Management is an art as well as science. So why is it called as an art? We all know why is it called as science, because we are going to experiment it and get the results done based on the objective set. We are looking for the desired results, and if there is any deviation, we are going to make all those corrections and achieve the output, and that is why it is science. But why is it called as art? So we have a number of reasons for it. So whenever we deal with art, it is all about the creative ideas or talents of the people. So who are the people here? Employees in an organization. So art is an inborn talent only, but then we are going to redefine them through different learning and practices that are in the management. Okay, so these are the reasons why we say management is an art. So intelligence of the employees. Okay, so given any particular objective or any problem that occurs, how is he or she able to withstand that and provide solutions to it? So that is why it is called as an art. It depends on the intelligence of the people in the organization. Initiative, though a person has a skill, a technical skill or the administrative skill, how is he taking the initiative to solve the issue? So that is why, and again, the creative ideas of the employees that is put into action. So it is about the innovative or the creative ideas of the people. Then the individual approach, though we say it is a teamwork involved, we do have the work allocated to a particular employee in specific, isn't it? So he or she should be responsible to the individual work and how is he handling the work effectively. Application and dedication, and of course the result oriented. Just because we say it is an art, we cannot ignore the result part out of it. So these are the reasons why we call management as an art. Okay. So this is the difference basically between management as an art and management as a science. So it is based on the creative ideas or the skills of an employee, and this is based on the experimentation. So we rigidly follow the rules and the result. It is result oriented. Okay, whereas this one is a theoretical body of knowledge. Whereas when we deal with science, it is systematized approach of the knowledge gained, and this is all about the personalized application because the creative ideas is based on the individual skills, isn't it? Whereas this one is an universal application. So this is the basic difference. I just wanted to know this. Yesterday, this was your work. You should have completed it. Anyways, I just wanted to give the recap on it. So coming back to our topic today, which is evolution of management. So we are going to deal with all these, how this management got evolved. Just now I was telling what is management. Coordinating and overseeing the work of the employees. Why is this should be done? So that the works are done more effectively and efficiently. And we saw what is efficiency and what is effectiveness also. That is demanded to achieve the organization goals, isn't it? That is demanded to use the resources that are available in the organization, best use of the resources. Even if we are lacking one or the other resources in the management in the organization, we should have the best deal of all those resources. So that is why this got evolved. So we are going to see the scientific management, modern operational management theory given by Henry Fair, and then followed by the behavioral sciences, system theory, and modern management theory. I know all these are theoretical topics, but then you should know the side topics and the concept involved in all these so that you can write your exams. So the first one, which is the scientific management. Okay, so that was by F.W. Taylor. He has written a book called as Principles of Scientific Management. Okay, so this is a very important book that has to be followed in any organization for the matter. So this is also called as, this particular scientific management is also called as task management. So we are going to learn the principles that are laid down by the F.W. Taylor here. So there are 4 basic principles. So we'll have to follow all these in regard to the scientific management. So I've not written the same way that is given in the textbook. I've just brought the script, crisp points here. Let me explain whatever is given in the prescribed textbook now in regard to the principles. Before getting to know the principles, let's see who is this F.W. Taylor. Okay, it's Frederick Winslow Taylor, who is the author of the textbook Principles of Scientific Management. Okay, so actually he was working at Midway Steel Company. Okay, he actually witnessed so many inefficiencies among the workers and the managers in his workplace, and that is why he got motivated and he thought to write the principles of scientific management. So he laid down the guidelines of how to handle the workers and the managers so that the things are done more effectively. And that is why these scientific principles got evolved. So this is just the history that we should know before getting to learn the concepts. Okay, so the first principle with scientific management is replace the rule of thumb with science. Okay, so it is to develop the science for the individual works to replace the rule of thumb. And the second point, it is harmony, not the discard. So we are going to ignore the disagreements. We are going to work in cooperation. So that is what is given here. So there should not be any disagreement or disputes among the employees, and all the employees should work in cooperation, and it should not be an individualism. Be it a manager or a team leader also, he should be in he should be compatible with the employees so that the works are done more effectively. And it is about the maximum output. It is not the restricted output. Irrespective of the input resources we have, there should be a maximum out of which, so that the organization goals are achieved in a better way, and the development of each man to its greatest efficiency. So let me tell the four principles that are given in the book directly. So the first principle is replacement of rule of thumb. This is how it is given in the textbook. Develop a science for each element of an individual work to replace the rule of thumb. So we are going to implement the scientific approaches or the technologies that have come replacing the rule of thumb so that we have the best use of the resources. The second point is scientifically select people, train them, teach them, and develop the workers. That is the second point or the second principle. The third principle is heartily cooperate with the workers so as to ensure that the work is done in accordance with the principles of science. I repeat, heartily cooperate with the workers in the organization so that the work is done in accordance with the principles of science. Okay. And the fourth point, that is what is given as 2 points here. And the fourth point is divide the work and responsibility almost equally among the managers and the workers. Look at the point here. It is not just the split of work among the workers. It is a split of work among the managers as well as the workers. All of the people in the organization should work well to achieve the efficiency. So management does all work for which it is better suited for the workers. So these are the principles of scientific management. I even told you about this why this got evolved, because he was working in a place where there were inefficiencies witnessed. That is why it got evolved, and he wrote this book, in which is the basic of all other management theory books. So it was written in the year 1911. Okay, so this is the first management theory that we have learned now. Okay, so these are the 4 points. Even if we cannot bring the same phrases that are given in the textbook, it is okay. At least get to know what does the principles say. It is about all these points. One is simple: replacing rule of thumb, cooperation with the workers, and maximum output in harmony, not discard. Okay, so this is all about principles of scientific management. The second theory is modern operational management theory. Okay, so this was by Henry Foyle. He laid 14 principles. The previous theory had only 4 principles, whereas this had 14 principles. Okay, so first, Henry Foyle identified 5 main functions in a management, and those functions are planning, organizing, commanding, coordinating, and controlling. So these are the basic 5 managerial functions in any organization. We saw all these 5 functions in the previous class itself. For any organization, for any management, we have 5 basic functions, which are planning, organizing, commanding or directing, coordinating, and controlling. So these were the 5 functions that he identified in an organization. Then, based on that, he laid all these 14 principles. So let's see all these. The first one is division of work or specialization. So when we talk about the division of work, when it is done without any partiality The workers will be happy in doing the work, and it is based on the specialization. So whichever the skills are held by the people, if that kind of a work is given to that particular employee, things will go well, isn't it? So that is what this principle says: division of work or specialization. So which means the specialization increases the output by making the employees more efficient. Okay. The second principle is authority and responsibility. So when you look at this word authority, who has this authority? Your managers, isn't it? So managers must be able to give orders to the employees so that they work well. Okay. And what gives this right to the managers? The authority. Okay. Authority gives the right to the managers to give orders to the employee. Okay. And he has a responsibility to allocate the orders or work or task to the employee. So it is something related to the managers here. And discipline: employee must obey and respect the rules of the organization. It is not about the respecting the people alone. It is about respecting the rules that are set in the organization so that the things go well. So it is about the discipline among the employees. It is, when you say discipline about the employees, it is about all the people who are in the organization. Okay. So employees must obey and respect rules that govern the organization. Okay. Then fourth principle is unity of command. So who has this command? It is about the manager. So every employee should receive orders only from one superior or supervisor. That is why it is called as unity of command. An employee cannot work under two masters or two leaders, isn't it? He or she should work under only one person. Might be the top level people will contact the middle level people, and then they will contact the unit managers, but the employees in a team work under only one team leader. The team leader will give all these um, the work completion and all those status to his higher officials. Anyways, it is only one person who acts as a superior to his subordinates. So the employee or each and every employee should receive orders only from one superior. That is what is unity of command. Okay. Then we have the next principle, which is unity of direction. Unity of direction here is all about how the work is given to the workers by the managers, and how the work is being completed by the workers. So it is the organization should have a single plan of action to guide the managers and workers. So that is what is unity of direction. Then next principle is subordination of individual to general. It is about the interest. Okay. So subordination of individual interest to general interest. So we can the point here is it is about not one single individual here. Even though a person has his own or interest or ideas, that should be for the organization goals. That should be for achieving the organizational goals. The interest of one employee, or even be it a particular team, okay, the interest of one employee or a group of employees should not take precedence over the interest of the organization as a whole. If it is for the betterment of the organization, yes, it will be considered. It is just not the dictatorship that can be allowed in an organization. Okay. The next one is the remuneration. So what is remuneration here? How well the employees are being paid. Okay. So the workers must be paid a fair wage for their services or for their work. The next principle is centralization. When we talk about centralization, it is just not just about all the work should be reported to one person in general. It is just not that alone. It also refers to the degree to which the subordinates are involved in decision making. Though we have managers at each and every level, we should give importance to the workers who do the actual work. So it refers to the degree to which the subordinates are involved in decision making. That is the point told by the Henry Fayol for centralization. Okay. Then the next principle is line of command or scalar chain. So the line of authority from the top management to the lowest level of people is the scalar chain here. So the organization goal is set by the top level people, isn't it? And it is being escalated to the middle level manager and then to the team leaders. The team leader uh, disseminate all these to the subordinates. The subordinates are the people who work, and the status is reported to the first line managers and then to the middle level managers and then the top level manager. And this is what is the scalar chain or line of command. It is from the higher officials to the workers at the lower level. Of course, we have different levels to cross through, but then that is how the line of command is being done in an organization. So it is the line of authority from the top management to the lowest ranks. Okay, hope this is clear to you. Then order. What is order here? People and the resources in an organization should be in the right place and the right time. So it is about the discipline that is put here as order. Okay. So the next, see, we have another principle called as discipline, where we deal with the rules and all those. Here specifically, it is about whether they are in their places and whether the right things are being followed, and that is what is order here. Okay, the plan of action, how it is being executed, and we have the next principle, which is equity. So managers and the management should be kind and fair to the employees or workers. So that is what is equity. Equal rights should be given among all the workers. No partial treatment. Okay, manager cannot be biased to few people, cannot favor few people, and he cannot disagree with few other people alone in his team. That is not a fair play. So that is all about this equity and stability. Okay, stability of tenure. So where the management should provide orderly personal planning, and he or she should ensure that the replacements are available to fill the vacancies. What does it mean? Whenever a person leaves the particular team, that place should be filled with the proper person. So recruitment should be done properly. And whenever vacancy occurs, recruitment should be done. And when after recruiting the people, training should be given to them, and then they should be made involved in that particular team. Okay. Then initiative. Employees who are allowed to originate and carry out plan will have higher levels of effort. So they should bring their initiative, they should put forth their creative skills, and they can initiate things so that the team works well. Okay. In the last point, which is very, very important, E-spirit decops, you would have heard about this term. It is about promoting the team spirit. Okay, and build harmony and unity within the organization. That is what is E-spirit decops. Okay, so let's see all these in detail. I was just telling you about the brief introduction about all these. Hardly 1 or 2 points is given in the textbooks. I've referred all the books that are given in our syllabus. 1 or 2 points are given under each and every topic. Okay, let's see it again. Division of work or specialization, as I told, the work should be split equally among the people, and based on the specialization or the skill set of an employee, it is being given to them. So it is to help specialize in an activity which increases the output with perfection. The people should not be in a broad category of work, they should be in a deeper category of work. So he or she should be involved in learning the skills at that particular point of time and for that specific purpose. Okay, so that the output increases, productivity increases, and it is also with the perfection. So it avoids the wastage of time. That is why we have different teams called as development team, testing team, and all those. The people in a team are focused on only one particular task. Okay, so division can be applied to both technical and managerial kind of work. It is just not based on the technical skills, it is also based on the managerial skills. If a person holds all the leadership qualities, he or she can be made as a team leader for that particular work task. So it is about the division of work, see equal split of work. Okay, and they are going to work in accordance to only one task at a point of time. So authority and responsibility, it is about the managers. So whenever you learn the topic and write the points on your own. Authority, who has authority? Managers, isn't it? So they are the people who give orders, and authority which makes them give this orders to the people. Okay. So manager orders the employee for the work. Discipline. As I said, it's about obeying the rules in an organization. All the employees in an organization, irrespective of the managers or the subordinates, whether he or she is a top level manager, middle level manager, or any kind of a manager or subordinate, they should obey the rules that are laid in an organization. All these are very simple points, but then we should learn the principles. The unity of command, it should be only from one person. Okay. Then unit of direction, isn't it? So what is unit of direction? So it should be one plan of action that should be followed by the team. And of course, the manager is responsible for it. So each group of organizational activities that have the same objective, this is important, should be directed by one manager using only one plan. We might have many plans to do the task, but we'll have to pick which is the best plan out of the alternatives, and that should be followed with only one plan of action, and manager is responsible to it. Subordination of individual. So what is this? We learned as a topic called as subordination of individual interest to general interest, isn't it? So individual should subordinate self-interest to the general good. Okay. So when he or she has an idea to solve a problem or has a better idea in developing the product, if that is in accordance with the organizational goal, that can be brought to light. Okay. Remuneration, it is about the wages paid to the people. So how well they are rewarded, how well they are recognized, how well they are appreciated. That is what is remuneration here. So a fair wages should be provided to the workers for their services or for their work. Obviously, people will have different pays or salary pay of scale, but based on the work, they should be given a fair wage, and it should be based on the cost of living and the work allocated to them and how they satisfy the both the employee and the employers in the organization. And their scale of pay should be decided. And we all would have heard about this appraisal skills and all those. So every year the workers or any employee skill has been evaluated, and how and what are the works done by them in the in the year, and they would be given hikes based on that. That is what is remuneration again. Centralization. Centralization is about the overall control taken by the organization in a proper way. So as I said, it is the degree to which the subordinates or employees are involved in the decision making. Okay. So both formulation of policy and the generation of basic rules and procedures should be out to be centralized. So we should discuss it all in the organization and decide on all those so that there is an overall control in the organization. What is scalar chain? From top level management to the lower level, things are happening, isn't it? So this is what is scalar chain. Okay, so it is otherwise called as the line of authority. So it is from the top management to the lowest ranks. So communication should be this way, this level only. Orders will be this way, from top to bottom, and the work, the status of work will be from the bottom level to the top level, because these are the people who actually work, isn't it? Which means the specific works. Okay. So the other people are for the supervising and the other administration or organization works. So this is what is scalar chain. What is the next principle that we learn? Order, isn't it? People and materials or resources should be in the right place and the right time. And then the products could be delivered on time, and the it's based on the market demands. We can develop the products and give it to them. If there is deviation in that time, the resources might be wasted. We might demand the people for a longer period of time to complete this, and the time, resources are all wasted, and there will not be a good impact among the vendors or in the market. So all these should be in the right place and the right time. Equity, how kind and fair the managers are to their subordinates. So appreciation should be given, and if there is a deviation or if the workers do not work well, also there should be a positive motivation. He or she can be called for a counseling, and we can get to know why there is a deviation or delay in the work. Might be because of their personal issues also, that should be solved by the manager. Only then the organization can achieve the goals. Stability of tenure of personnel. It is about how well the replacements happen to fill the vacancies. Initiative. So it is the power of thinking out, proposing, and executing. It is just not just with the intelligence or the creative ideas with the employees alone. They should come out with it, and they should propose it to their higher officials, and they should execute it well. And the management should encourage such employees who come with the creative skills. Okay. It is stepping out of the other people. So this is what helps an employee to get better pay. So that is what is initiative here. E spirit decops. It is the team spirit or working in unity. So the tagline here is unity is strength, nothing more than that. Okay, that is what is E spirit decops. So create a sense of belonging employees. Okay, it brings loyalty, dedication, and commitment to the group. So there should be a mutual trust and understanding in a team. So that is all about E spirit decops. It is just with the team and with the organization as well. So this is all about the 14 principles by Henry Fromm. Then next the theory that we are going to learn here is behavioral theory. It is as simple as that. Okay, so it is based on the behavior of the people. Okay. So that is what is organization behavior, or otherwise called as OB. The abbreviation here is OB. Okay. So we should know first what is OB, or organizational behavior, when we are dealing with this behavioral theory. The field of study that researches the behavior of people at work. I repeat, the field of study that researches the behavior of people or the actions of people at a workplace is called as organization behavior, or OB. So we are going to learn that. So the field of organization behavior draws from a broad interdisciplinary category. Like we are going to deal with the psychological facts, sociology, anthropology, economics, and medicine. So we are going to deal with all these and learn how these people work, and we are going to make a research out of this. And why is this research needed? Any idea? So that we can learn the people well. If they think that they are not paid well, there can be a solution given to it. And if they think that they are overloaded, there can be a solution brought to it. And if they think their manager are not doing a fair play, if the manager are biased, managers are biased, the employees, all these should be sought out, isn't it? And then we can achieve the goals. Okay. Because the works are allotted to specific people. So if those employees are not satisfied that well, that particular amount of work is getting delayed, and there will not be an efficient work done. So all these should be sought. That is why this behavioral theory was brought or got evolved. So it is all based on the organization behavior, OB. So it is based on the OB research only. We have learned, or we have laid the principles for the managers, like what the manager should do in managing people, like motivating, leading, building trust, working with a team, or like managing conflicts, etc. So all these are laid down, the basic for all these. See, the current managers who are in the current organizations and all those follow all the researches that have come out of this organizational behavior only. So based on this, we have two basic theories. And let me complete the session with this alone. I need only 1 minute to explain this. Behavioral theory on how employees behave towards work. So we have one theory called as theory X. So assumptions in this theory is employees dislike work. They do not like work, and that is why they are not performing well, and that is why there is a delay. The employees do not have the responsibility nature. They feel they are irresponsible. Only the managers are responsible, it seems. So they lack ambition. They do not have an aim to achieve things. It is not just the team ambition or the team goal. It is a personal ambition also. And employees resist change, and they cannot withstand the changes. They cannot work in accordance with the dynamic changes that happens. So this is what is theory X assumptions are all about. Based on this, we are going to deal with the employees, okay? And we have another theory which is called as theory Y, where the assumptions are like this only. Employees are willing to work, okay? They are self-directed. It is not that a manager should give orders to them to work and they should be behind them watching their daily routines and all those. Once their work is allotted to them, they're self-directed. Since because they have their skills, they go with their workflow and they accept responsibility. So whenever a work task is given to me, say for example, if a manager is on leave, if one person among the team is given the in charge, they are taking those responsibilities things. And employees are creative because they are the people who actually work, isn't it? They know they are technically strong, so they are creative and they are self-controlled. This is how the theory Y assumptions are. It is just assumptions, ma. Okay, so based on these theories, the managers or the top level people do the research and they learn how the people work, and they find why there are delays, and if there are no deviations, they follow the same procedure to do the other projects also. So this is what is all about the behavioral theory. So I guess I've completed on time. Thank you, students. If you have any doubts, please do ask me now.